Must be in his official residence in the heart of Kathmandu, I imagine.
Hmm.
It's completely chaotic, the situation, and it looks like the city is burning. Lots of places on fire, lots of buildings of several ministers, former ministers, former prime ministers, uh, are on fire, and the situation is completely out of control. The PM has called an all-party meeting at 6 p.m. in the evening, but looks like it's too late, and things are going from bad to worse.
Right now, many members of the Prime Minister's coalition, including many members of his cabinet, have resigned, citing moral responsibility. Um, does KP Sharma Oli even enjoy the support of his own party members to continue as the Prime Minister at this moment?
That's a good question. People have not come out openly against him, but we understand there is there's brewing discontent within his party. That's there, but then the government is now isolated
Uh-huh.
with the major coalition partner, Nepali Congress, leaving most of its ministers leaving the cabinet, tendering their resignation. And amidst the chaos, army helicopter has been is doing circling around Kathmandu, taking ministers from their private residences to a safe location. Even the official quarters of the ministers in southern Kathmandu has been set alight by protesters. So things are not looking good right now.
Right now, yesterday when the protests played out in the streets, it was an extremely violent clashes that happened. 19 people ended up losing their lives. But since this morning, there are reports which say that the police has been going easy on the protesters and has not resorted to the use of force. Anything that you can confirm about that front, sir?
Not really. For looking at the numbers, police tried their level best to take the situation under control. But then again, there was violence. The protests were not peaceful. So there were 19 people were killed, and today also the firing is continuing at several places. So the situation is moving at a very fast forward pace. Things are not looking good. Looks like it is another bad day in Nepal. Uh, there's complete anarchy.
Right, there is complete anarchy, is how you're describing this. Now, the straw that broke the camel's back was, in fact, this ban on many of these social media networks within Nepal because they were not complying in the timeline that the government had put them to register themselves with the authority in Nepal. Why do you think KP Sharma Oli was trying to get these social media sites to register? What was he unhappy about with the content that was circulating on these social media sites?
Yeah, that's like from where we are now. That's like going back. Actually, the Nepalese government repeatedly asks the social media tech companies to get themselves registered, appoint their grievance officers in Nepal, but then nobody paid heed. No, it fell on deaf ears, and the government was forced to do so. That's what it was said. But then it has been lifted now, and all social media's channels are like back up and running. And then people are just busy uploading the disturbing images that are being recreated today, and things as I see now are just getting from bad to worse.
Right, things are getting
Quite
bad to
traumatizing.
us. Yeah, go ahead, make your point.
Yeah, quite traumatizing scenes. It's like quite disturbing. Several public property buildings are being destroyed. An entire neighborhood is like looks like is on fire right outside the parliament, things are just absolutely horrible. I mean, it's difficult to describe. It's
All right.
absolutely unprecedented.
It's unprecedented. Now, it is the Gen Z, it is the younger generation that is at the forefront of these protests. How do you view these protests, Mr. Puel? Is this something which is very organically that is erupted, or are there other political factors who are trying to back these protesters that are at play here?
Uh, Nothing is confirmed, but the government spokesperson yesterday pointed out that there is some infiltration from different vested interest groups. Just 6 months ago, we remember there was big protest in favor of monarchy. So probably more pro-monarchy forces are at play. The opposition parties not happy with Oli. There's former Maoist party. I don't know. It's really difficult to corroborate and investigate and find out. But yeah, everyone is that who is unhappy is like out on the street doing their things.
And also, KP Sharma Oli is an old, seasoned politician, and he's been in power for quite some time, in and out of power for quite some time in Nepal. Do you think he did not see the anger that was brewing within the people of Nepal? How do you think a protest of this magnitude has suddenly exploded onto the streets of Nepal?
I think it's partly to blame with the short-sightedness, lack of intelligence, maybe a bit of foolhardiness. It's really difficult to say, but then the damage has been done, and there's no point going back. I mean, I think the focus now it should be on how to fix things. Set the record straight, how to fix things up, and get Nepal back on track.
All right. Mr. Payal, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Kathmandu and getting us all those insights there. Things are very fluid and dynamic and changing every minute. This is what the scene looks like at this moment in Nepal, where the private residence of KP Sharma Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal, has been set on fire. The residence of the President of Nepal has also been set on fire, is what is being reported. There are many protesters who have set fire to many of these ties. They have apparently blocked the road to the airport where my colleague Saloni Murarka at this moment is. And the expectation is that some of these political leaders in Nepal may try and flee from the country. To prevent that from happening, the protesters, we're given to understand, have completely surrounded the airport premises. They don't want their political leaders to just flee and not be held accountable for what the public seems to be extremely angry with. My colleague Saloni Murarka has sent us this report from the airport in Nepal. Take a look as to what's unfolding there.
The situation has escalated in the capital, Kathmandu. Protesters have gathered around the Parliament building. This is the main gate that you see behind me, is the main gate of the Federal Parliament of Nepal. The protesters and the police clashed. The police fired tear gases. The other side hurled the stones on the police officials. Now they have just gathered around in front of the main Parliament gate. These young people want change in the Nepal's government system. They want the Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's government to step down and want a directly elected Prime Minister. This is for the change that they want here in the nation, with the rising corruption, widening inequality. And just with this frustration, all the youngsters have come down on the streets of Kathmandu. The entire country has been witnessing these protests. Crowd has been increasing minute by minute. Protesters are gathering around the parliament. As you can see, police officials, APF, Nepal Army have been deployed, and not only outside the premises but inside as well. Many of the protesters have attacked the leaders' houses and party office buildings here in Kathmandu. I'm reporting from Kathmandu, Nepal. I'm Saloni Murarka for WION.
And also, Mr. Jagdishore Pandey, who is an editor of The Diplomat in Nepal, has reacted about the ongoing situation in the country. Listen to what he has said, what he has to say.
In Nepal's democratic history, yesterday, Nepal received a massacre from its own government. The KP Sharma Oli led government killed its 19 people who are young and from the GenZ generation. And the GenZ generation, they came to road because the government, because of the government corruption, as well as the government banned 26 social media which people are using day by day. So against the outrage of the social media closing, as well as the corruption and the corrupt political leadership for 30 years, the Nepali GenZ generation came over to protest that. But the government led by KP Sharma Oli massacre 19 innocent people. After that, the coalition partner from the Congress, there was a home minister Ramesh Lekhov. He resigned, as well as the other minister from Congress are also planning to resign, and they are also considering to pull out their support from the Oli government. But the Oli, who is leading this government, who killed 19 innocent people, and there are more than 400 people are injured around the country. And
All right, so this is what is unfolding at this moment in Kathmandu, where many of these youngsters, they've been out on the streets. They're demanding for nothing less than the stepping down of KP Sharma Oli, where the Prime Minister's private residence has been set on fire by the protesters. The protesters are extremely unhappy with what is unfolding in the country. Remember, the protests, of course, started off. The spark was the ban that was imposed on the social media sites because they were not willing to adhere to the regulation of the Nepalese government. But there are many other factors that are at play here: deep-seated corruption and the state of the economy and nepotism of the children of the politicians, who seem to be enjoying some kind of a lifestyle which the general people in Nepal felt very angry with. Because one of the hashtags that has been trending in Nepal over the course of the last few days is Nepo Kids, and that has been very, very prominently talked about by the people who are out on the streets. And although the KP Sharma Oli government has now revoked the ban on the social media sites, the protesters say that they are just not happy and they want nothing less than the resignation of KP Sharma Oli. Because remember, it's interesting to know whether KP Sharma Oli is even, does he even enjoy some of the support, the popular support of members of his own political party in the parliament. The protesters have gathered at the airport. They are speaking with the security personnel at the airport because they say that the political leaders must not be allowed to flee from the country. Now, the Prime Minister, that is KP Sharma Oli, has called for an all-party meeting at about 6 p.m. Nepalese time later in the day today. But it remains to be seen as to how many of the political leaders even turn up for that meeting, because many of the cabinet ministers of KP Sharma Oli's government have stepped down, including the Home Minister, who has cited moral responsibility for what has unfolded in Nepal, and he has said that he cannot continue any further in the aftermath of what has happened there. The official quarters in southern Kathmandu has also been set on fire. These are some of the developments that are unfolding in Kathmandu. And since this morning, these are reports where the police has been apparently going easy on the protesters, unlike what happened yesterday, where 19 of the protesters were killed in clashes with the police. The residence of President Ramchandra Paul of Nepal has also been set on fire. This is what is being reported this moment. The residences of the former Nepalese prime ministers, including that of the Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda and Sher Bahadur Dioba, and the energy minister Deepak Khadka, have also been damaged by the protesters. So it is not one party or the other which seems to be backing these protesters, at least not on the face of it, because the former presidents, including KP Sharma Oli's long-time rival Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda and Sher Bahadur Dioba, and also the energy minister Deepak Khadka, their residences have also been damaged by the protesters. We'll slip into a short break, but don't go anywhere, for on the other side we'll continue tracking the developments that are unfolding in Nepal, where there are some pretty dramatic scenes. The protesters have now taken over the streets, and no one knows at this moment as to where the Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is, whose residence has been set on fire. We'll slip into a short break. More updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned to WION.
wherever they enter and across kilometers away, you will find that they are doing these violations. They have no water to drink. It's all contaminated. Young people who are around 19 start looking like 50s.
Pharma lobby is so politically powerful that no government has acted against them. It gives an impression that there is a regulation.
Now this has got a serious implications of the next generation dangers of the society.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Wherever they enter and across kilometers away, you will find that they are doing these violations. They have no water to drink. It's all contaminated. Young people who are around 19 start looking like 50s.
Pharma lobby is so politically powerful that no government has acted against them. It gives an impression that there is a regulation.
Now this has got a serious implications of the next generation dangers of the society.
Welcome back to our continuous coverage of what is unfolding at this moment in Nepal, where the country is on the edge. The protesters are out on the streets, and according to reports that have come in, they've even set fire to the private residence of the Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. We'll be getting you all the updates of what is unfolding there. But first, let's take a look as to what is making headlines at this hour. So Nepal remains on the edge even after the ban on social media sites was withdrawn. All flights being stopped from Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport. Massive protests and violence across the country. A curfew has been imposed in Kathmandu amidst arson and vandalism by the protesters. And heat on Nepalese government and politicians. Protesters set fire to Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's private residence, demanding accountability for Monday's deaths. All-party meeting has been called this evening as 4 ministers have resigned, and calls for the Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to resign continue to grow. And India says it is very closely monitoring the developments and has urged Indian nationals in Nepal to exercise caution. Security has been stepped up on the 1,700-kilometer long porous India-Nepal border amidst concerns of trouble elements entering into the country. And China has launched a new remote sensing satellite from its spacecraft launch site Henan province. The Yangon 45 satellite will carry out scientific experiments and land resource surveys and enable crop yield estimates. There is rush hour chaos in London as the underground strike enters its second full working day. The workers walk out on Sunday over pay and conditions. The tube isn't expected to reopen until Friday morning. The global bonds are rallying up by about 20% from their 2022 lows as markets are ramping up expectations for renewed Federal Reserve rate cuts, signaling mounting confidence in easier monetary policy ahead. And North Korea celebrates 77th anniversary of its founding with mass dance and fireworks, flag hoisting ceremony and fireworks in Pyongyang. The China sends its congratulatory message and expresses willingness to strengthen cooperation. Alright, so all major social media applications are back again in Nepal after the government rolled back its social media ban. But the rollback has failed to end the protests that it triggered. The ban has sparked violent protests which continue on Tuesday in the capital city. And on Monday, remember, the police had launched a deadly crackdown on the protesters, resulting in deaths of at least about 19 of these youngsters, leaving hundreds of others injured. Now, the government says that its decision to ban social media platforms was in line with the Supreme Court order last year, which directed these platforms to establish a point of contact and to appoint grievance handling officers. After repeated requests, the government again on the 28th of August had set a 7-day deadline for social media platforms to register in Nepal. And that deadline expired on Wednesday night. The government then blocked about 26 unregistered social media giants, including apps such as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp and X, on Friday for not registering with the authorities under the new regulations. Interestingly, TikTok, that is owned by the Chinese ByteDance and other platforms like Viber and Nimbus, were not banned after registering with the government. The Telegram's application is currently under review. While the government claims that the ban was in line with the Supreme Court order, there are questions that are being raised about the timing of the crackdown, and popular platforms such as Instagram have millions of users in Nepal who rely on them for entertainment, news and business.
It's affecting our daily lives. We used Instagram to message our friends, so that part is also a bit affected. From small businesses to big ones in Nepal that operate with social media, I feel like it will be difficult for all of them too.
Now, the days leading up to the protests, Nepal's social media landscape was dominated by hashtags like Nepo Baby, Nepo Kids. Now, since Friday, videos contrasting the struggles of the ordinary Nepalese people with the children of politicians flaunting luxury goods and expensive vacations have gone viral on TikTok, which had not been blocked. Now, Nepal has restricted access to popular online platforms in the past. Now, the government had blocked access to the Telegram messaging app in the month of July, citing a rise in online fraud and money laundering. It lifted a 9-month ban on TikTok in August last year after the platform agreed to comply with Nepalese regulations. And our correspondent Saloni Murarka has sent us this report from Kathmandu. Listen.
The situation has escalated in the capital, Kathmandu. Protesters have gathered around the Parliament building. This is the main gate that you see behind me, is the main gate of the Federal Parliament of Nepal. The protesters and the police clashed. The police fired tear gases. The other side hurled the stones on the police officials. Now they have just gathered around in front of the main Parliament gate. These young people want change in the Nepal's government system. They want the Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's government to step down and want a directly elected Prime Minister. This is for the change that they want here in the nation, with the rising corruption, widening inequality, and just with this frustration, all the youngsters have come down on the streets of Kathmandu. The entire country has been witnessing these protests. Crowd has been increasing minute by minute. Protesters are gathering around the Parliament, as you can see. Police officials, APF, Nepal Army have been deployed, and not only outside the premises but inside as well. Many of the protesters have attacked the leaders' houses and party office buildings here in Kathmandu. I'm reporting from Kathmandu, Nepal. I'm Saloni Murarka for WION.
So that was Saloni Murarka, my colleague, getting us the updates, the ground updates of what was unfolding a little while back in Nepal. But she's joining us over the phone line. She is at this moment, I'm given to understand, at the airport, where a number of protesters have in fact surrounded the airport. They're trying to prevent the Nepalese political leaders from fleeing the country. Saloni, give us a sense of what is unfolding at this moment at the airport. We're given to understand that the operations at the airport have all come to a standstill.
Yes, that's right. The international airport authorities have shut down the international wing for a while, and this is all because of due to security reasons. And all the international airlines have been asked to halt the landing at the airport. At the moment, all the protesters are trying to barge into the premises of the airport. On halfway, they have gone through, and they are now in again a clash with the Nepal police right outside the airport. There's a heavy deployment of the Nepali army here at the airport to secure the area. And I'm just receiving this information that the Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, is preparing to resign. He will be submitting his papers to the President today, anytime soon.
Right, that's a big development that you're telling us, that the Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is preparing to resign and he will be tendering his papers pretty soon. What has brought about this change within the Prime Minister? Why does he see this to be an end of the road for him at this point? This is a big breaking development that you are giving us.
Right, as we can see on the streets, it is very evident that he does not hold any support among the public. He has lost the trust that he thought that he might have built over the years. And when we talk about of the government there as well, he lost the support of his coalition partner. The Nepali Congress leaders have been in discussion since yesterday to step out to withdraw their support from Oli government. So what I can say is that at the moment he sees that he does not hold any support, not on the streets, not among the people, not inside the parliament.
Right, indeed. And when do we expect him to go tender in his resignation papers to the president?
I've just received this information while I was speaking to you, so I'm yet to confirm that. But it might happen anytime today.
Right. That of course is a big development here. And this is an ongoing protest. Things are happening in a very fluid manner. So Saloni, give us a sense as to where the Prime Minister is, although he's now said that he is willing to resign and he'll step down, he'll tender his resignation to the president. But where is he at this moment? Because his private residence has been set on fire.
Yes, that's right. What we can say is that maybe he's at his official residence, that is in Balwatar, just a few meters away from the administrative building of Nepal, that is Singhadarbar. And it is believed that Singhadarbar area compound premises has also compromised by the protesters. And so we are just heading there to see the ground situation. And this is what becomes evident for the leadership when they do not hold any trust or support from the public or from the government. But at the moment, Prime Minister Oli is preparing to tender his resignation.
Right, we'll get my colleague Saloni Murarka back with us, because remember, the situation is very fluid at this moment. She is at the airport, where we are given to understand that the protesters have completely surrounded all the roads leading up to the airport in Kathmandu, because the protesters do not want their political leaders to flee from the country. But the big breaking development at this moment that we are getting is that KP Sharma Oli has now indicated that he will step down, he will resign from the office of the Prime Minister and will tender his resignation papers to the President, and that could happen sometime later this afternoon. These are very, very dramatic developments that are unfolding, where KP Sharma Oli, who till yesterday morning looked almost unchallenged, within a span of 48 hours of these protests, has now come forth and said that he will tender his resignation. My colleague Saloni Murarka is with us from the airport in Kathmandu. Saloni, there are reports that the family members of many of these cabinet ministers are being airlifted and being taken to some secure locations because of the protesters who are damaging their residences. Do we know as to how many of these family members have been taken away by the army to these secure locations?
It's difficult to put a number at the moment because many of the leaders' residences have been attacked. But yes, it's been over 1 hour. The army has been trying to rescue the family members of the leaders and take them to a secure area. And we even saw the movement of helicopters. A lot of helicopters movements here in Kathmandu just a while back, and it is assumed that that was taken for their evacuation from the area, and hence all the protesters are gathering around the airport.
Right. So all the protesters are gathering at the airport. And also, since this morning, this is what is being reported in some quarters. Yesterday, the police had a brutal crackdown when they clashed with the protesters. 19 of these young protesters died, more than 400 others sustained injuries. But since this morning, has the police been asked to go easy on the protesters? Because there are reports which indicate that the police is not using force on the protesters since this morning.
Yes, that's right. While I was in the parliament, there was a heavy clash that took place between both the sides, and police tried to restrain from using any heavy forces. However, in between, it is believed that between the chaos, maybe a few bullets were fired. But today, it can be seen that the police officials are taking little slowly and little calmly, and not straight away landing up to using the heavy ammunitions. That can be seen, and how the protesters on the other side are also they are scattered around the capital at the moment. So there are few people at one location, so it is easy for the police officials to also handle them. And there has been a little unsaid of mutual understanding, it seems. Like in few areas, I noticed that when the protesters were trying to barge into the restricted area, after trying for maybe half an hour, the police just let them go through the area. So
Absolutely,
this
indeed.
happened right outside the parliament.
Right, right. Do continue to stay on with us. There's a lot more that we need to discuss with respect to what is happening there. Meanwhile, let's get you this breaking inputs, which has just been confirmed by my colleague Saloni Murarka, where the Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has indicated that he will resign and he will tender his resignation papers to the president. All right, so this is the breaking news that we are getting at this. Our KP Sharma Oli has resigned. He is to submit his papers to the president. And KP Sharma Oli, he's been around Nepalese politics for a long time. But the fact that he did not foresee what was coming, were protests less than 48 hours long, and he's now announced his resignation. He'll be submitting his papers to the president sometime this afternoon or towards the evening. This, of course, is the big breaking development that was confirmed to us by our correspondent Saloni Murarka, who is tracking all the developments at this moment from Kathmandu. She is at the Kathmandu International Airport, where all operations, we're given to understand, have been stalled for some time. And we need to see as to what unfolds from there. But how do the protesters now react to the fact that KP Sharma Oli has indicated that he'll step down, that he will resign? My colleague Saloni would be able to tell us better. Saloni, at this moment, have we heard anything from the side of the protesters, given the fact that KP Sharma Oli has now announced that he will be stepping down and he will resign and tender his resignation papers to the president? All right, we seem to have lost the line with my colleague Saloni Murarka. We'll try reconnect with her, but this is the big development at this moment. KP Sharma Oli, in less than 48 hours of the protests breaking out, has now resigned. He has said that he will submit his resignation papers to the president sometime this afternoon or towards the evening. But this is what is unfolding since yesterday morning, when the protests broke out. The protests were very violent yesterday. 19 people died. 19 of the protesters were killed in police action when they clashed with the riot police there. But since this morning, this has been confirmed by our correspondent as well, of the reports that the police has been asked to go easy on the protesters. Heavy-handed force has not been deployed, and the protesters have also remained much more calm since this morning. The residence of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has been set on fire. He is reportedly at his official residence now, and many of the family members of many of the cabinet members whose homes have come under attack have also been airlifted to safety by the Nepalese army. So KP Sharma Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal, has resigned. He will submit his resignation papers to the President sometime this afternoon towards evening. And what broke as protests against the government action to ban social media sites, because the social media sites were not adhering to the new government policy that they should register with the government in a certain time frame, which resulted in many of these big social media giants to be banned in Nepal, which brought these youngsters out onto the streets, has resulted in the Nepalese Prime Minister stepping down from his job. KP Sharma Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal, has resigned, and we expect him to submit his papers to the President sometime this afternoon towards evening. But this, remember, is not just a protest about the social media sites that were banned in Nepal briefly because the social media giants did not comply with the new government plans that had been brought in, where the government had indicated that all of these social media giants must have a grievance redressal officer stationed in Kathmandu. They must register with the Nepalese government in a certain time frame, which did not happen. And therefore, the government in Nepal said that according to the Supreme Court guidelines that had been laid out in the country earlier, they decided to go ahead and ban these social media giants. However, that ban was revoked, but that did not satisfy many of these protesters who've been out on the streets. and it now remains to be seen as to what unfolds from here, because we need to yet hear from the protesters who had been demanding that KP Sharma Oli should resign. He has now resigned, and we now need to wait and watch as to what the protesters have to say after this. Will the protests die down, or will they continue to simmer with other deep-rooted problems that afflict the Nepalese political system? These are some of the issues that need an answer for. But this is what the scene looks like at this moment in Kathmandu, where the protesters are out on the streets, tires are being burnt, life has been brought to a standstill. The Kathmandu International Airport has also been brought to a standstill, where the operations have been halted, all international flights have been stopped, and KP Sharma Oli, amidst all of this, has now announced that he will step down and resign, and therefore it now remains to be seen as to what happens with these protests. You can run. So this is what the scene looks like in Nepal at this moment. But the big breaking development that has come through is that KP Sharma Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal, has now announced that he is stepping down. He will tender his resignation to the President sometime this afternoon. Will this satisfy the demands of the protesters? That's something that is yet to be seen. But all roads in Kathmandu, all major roads, have all been barricaded, and it now remains to be seen as to what in fact unfolds there in Nepal. So KP Sharma Oli, the seasoned politician in Nepal, he has now tendered his, he has announced that he will resign. He will tender his resignation sometime this afternoon to the Nepalese president. And remember, the president's house has also been set on fire by the protesters who have been extremely angry with the state of affairs in Nepal. President Ramchandra Paudel, his house was also set on fire by the protesters who have been extremely furious with the Nepalese political dispensation, and cutting across party lines, the political leaders in Nepal have borne the brunt of the anger. And my colleague Saloni Murarka has sent us this report. Listen to what she had to say.
The situation has escalated in the capital, Kathmandu. Protesters have gathered around the Parliament building. This is the main gate that you see behind me, is the main gate of the Federal Parliament of Nepal. The protesters and the police clashed. The police fired tear gases. The other side hurled the stones on the police officials. Now they have just gathered around in front of the main Parliament gate. These young people want change in the Nepal's government system. They want the Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's government to step down and want a directly elected Prime Minister. This is for the change that they want here in the nation, with the rising corruption, widening inequality, and just with this frustration, all the youngsters have come down on the streets of Kathmandu. The entire country has been witnessing these protests. Crowd has been increasing minute by minute. Protesters are gathering around the Parliament. As you can see, police officials, APF, Nepal Army have been deployed, and not only outside the premises but inside as well. Many of the protesters have attacked the leaders' houses and party office buildings here in Kathmandu. I'm reporting from Kathmandu, Nepal. I'm Saloni Murarka for WION.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Hello and welcome back to our continuous coverage of what is unfolding at this moment in Nepal, where the Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli, has announced that he will resign and tender his resignation papers sometime this afternoon. We'll get you all the updates, but first let's take a look as to what is making headlines at this hour. Now, Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigns amidst massive protests in capital Kathmandu and other Nepalese cities. Nepal is on the ball even after the ban order on social media is withdrawn. All flights have been stopped at Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport. Massive protests and violence has gripped the country. Curfew has been imposed in Kathmandu, and there are reports of arson and vandalism by the protesters. And the protesters set fire to Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's private residence, demanding for accountability for Monday deaths. An all-party meeting had been called for this evening. India says it is closely monitoring the developments and has urged Indian nationals in Nepal to exercise caution. Security has been stepped up at the 1,700-kilometer long porous India-Nepal border. And the Indian Prime Minister does an aerial survey of the flood-hit areas in Himachal Pradesh, and he's also to visit Punjab to assess the situation and to monitor progress of the relief and rescue operations. And China launches a new remote sensing satellite from its space launch site Henan province. The Yangon 45 satellite will carry out scientific experiments and land resource surveys and will also enable crop yield estimates. And there is rush hour chaos in London as the underground strike enters into its second full working day. The workers walk out on Sunday over pay and conditions, and the tube isn't expected to reopen until Friday morning. And global bonds are rallying up by about 20% from their 2022 lows as the markets ramp up expectations for renewed Federal Reserve rate cuts, signaling mounting confidence in easier monetary policy ahead. And North Korea celebrates its 77th anniversary of its founding with mass dance and fireworks. Flag hoisting ceremony and fireworks were set off in Pyongyang, and China sent its congratulatory message expressing willingness to strengthen cooperation. The Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned amidst protests in the capital Kathmandu and other cities. Earlier, the demonstrators had gathered outside KP Sharma Oli's residence demanding accountability for Monday's fatalities. During the protest, the demonstrators also set fire to his private residence. The central office of the Nepali Congress in Sanepa was also reportedly vandalized. The Kathmandu District Administration Office has imposed an indefinite curfew inside the ring road area of the Nepalese capital, reintroducing restriction just hours after an earlier order was lifted. So according to reports, the police deployed tear gas to disperse the protesters, although the authorities stated that security forces had been instructed to exercise restraint and that no live ammunition was authorized. There have been reports of gunfire and bullet injuries. The Tribhuvan International Airport has been fully shut following the escalating demonstrations. The Nepalese army has been deployed to provide security at the airport. Earlier, Nepal's Agriculture Minister Ramnath Adhikari and the Health Minister Pradeep Paudel had both aligned with the Nepali Congress had resigned from their posts. Condemning the government crackdown, their resignation follows that of the Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak, who stepped down, taking moral responsibility for the government's handling of the protest. India, meanwhile, has raised concerns over the protest. In a statement, New Delhi said that it is closely monitoring the developments since yesterday and is deeply saddened by the loss of many young lives. Taking note that the authorities have imposed curfew in Kathmandu and several other cities in Nepal, it has advised Indian nationals to exercise caution and to adhere to the steps and guidance issued by the Nepali authorities. And my colleague Saloni Murarka has been tracking developments from the Kathmandu International Airport. Listen to what she had to say.
The situation has escalated in the capital, Kathmandu. Protesters have gathered around the Parliament building. This is the main gate that you see behind me, is the main gate of the Federal Parliament of Nepal. The protesters and the police clashed. The police fired tear gases. The other side hurled the stones on the police officials. Now they have just gathered around in front of the main Parliament gate. These young people want change in the Nepal's government system. They want the Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's government to step down and want a directly elected Prime Minister. This is for the change that they want here in the nation, with the rising corruption, widening inequality, and just with this frustration, all the youngsters have come down on the streets of Kathmandu. The entire country has been witnessing these protests. Crowd has been increasing minute by minute. Protesters are gathering around the Parliament, as you can see. Police officials, APF, Nepal Army have been deployed, and not only outside the premises but inside as well. Many of the protesters have attacked the leaders' houses and party office buildings here in Kathmandu. I'm reporting from Kathmandu, Nepal. I'm Saloni Murarka for WION.
All right, now in a major setback to Thailand's influential Shinawatra family, the country's Supreme Court has sent the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra to jail for 1 year. The court ruled that Shinawatra had improperly served a 2023 prison term in a hospital suite and had ordered him to complete his prison sentence of 1 year. After returning to Thailand in August 2023, Thaksin was sentenced to 8 years for corruption and abuse of power, later commuted to 1 year. Now, instead of prison, he spent 6 months in a VIP hospital wing, sparking questions about special treatment. The court found his hospital stay wasn't a valid substitute for prison time, stating that he did not have a severe illness and his prolonged stay was a clear violation. Following the Supreme Court ruling, Thaksin was taken into custody at Bangkok Remand Prison to serve the remainder of his sentence. Now, ahead of the ruling, Thaksin Shinawatra arrived at the Supreme Court with his family, including former Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, who was removed last month after a court found her guilty of an ethics violation for a politically compromising phone call with Cambodia's Senate President Hun Sen. Now, Paetongtarn Shinawatra said that her family remains strong despite her father Thaksin's prison sentence, while highlighting his role as a spiritual leader in Thai politics.
Today is another historic day that a Thai Prime Minister has to be in prison for the first time. This is quite tough, but of course our father and our family are still strong. We appreciate all support for my father and family. Thaksin remains a spiritual leader for Thai politics. He always thinks about the country and always intends to improve lives of Thai people.
In a message posted on social media, Thaksin Shinawatra thanked the king for reducing his prison sentence to 1 year, vowing to go through the judicial process. He said that his proudest moment was pushing policies to uplift people's livelihoods when he was the Prime Minister from 2001 to 2006. Now, thanking his supporters and members of the Pheu Thai party, the former Prime Minister wrote that while he may no longer have freedom, he has freedom of thought to create benefit for the country and the people. In the latest escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine's Air Force says that the Russian forces had launched 84 drones overnight into Tuesday. Of these, 60 were shot down by the Ukrainian air defenses. The drones were fired from Bryansk, Kirks, Milerovo, amongst others, with 23 of them striking targets across 10 locations. Meanwhile, in Russia, a man was killed in a Ukrainian drone attack on the Black Sea city of Sochi. Regional officials say that 6 residential homes were also damaged. And Russia's defense ministry claims that it intercepted 31 Ukrainian drones overnight, 15 of them over the Black Sea. In a related development, rising tensions are also being witnessed along Russia's border with Finland. Former Russian President and Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev has accused Helsinki of preparing for war with Russia, pointing to Finland's NATO membership and what he calls provocative NATO military exercises. Now, writing an opinion piece published by TASS, Medvedev criticized the establishment of NATO's Land Forces Command Center in the Finnish city of Mikkeli, close to the Russian border. Now, both sides are visibly fortifying their positions. Last month, Finland announced new defenses along its eastern frontier. And just last weekend, Moscow revealed that it too was reinforcing security measures on its border with Finland, in response to what it has described as Helsinki's unfriendly actions. The Finland, remember, formally joined the NATO military alliance in April 2023, citing its security concerns over Russia. Now, the Israeli military has ordered for the complete evacuation of all Palestinians from Gaza City ahead of its ground invasion. This warning by the Israeli forces marks the first widespread evacuation order of all of Gaza City. Remember, it has given such evacuation orders in the past as well, pushing all Palestinians to the south. Now, the previous warnings issued by the IDF in recent days had included specific buildings and the area surrounding them. Now, the IDF's recent statement is aligned with Netanyahu's earlier call for all Palestinians to leave their homes in Gaza City. Now, Netanyahu had said that the Israeli troops are being assembled to enter into the Palestinian territory's main urban center that has been bombed to rubble.
In the past 2 days, 50 towers have been brought down by the Air Force. All of this is just a prelude, the opening stage of a much larger and more intense operation, a ground maneuver by our forces, who are now preparing to enter Gaza City.
Now, the Israeli media says that 4 Israeli soldiers were killed in fighting with Hamas on an army camp near Gaza City. According to the initial investigation, the Hamas fighters reached a tank when it was stationed at the entrance to the encampment and then hurled an explosive into the tank, killing the 4 Israeli soldiers. Now, the IDF then returned fire at the fleeing Hamas fighters and then hit at least 2 of them. Now, the IDF forces have been carrying out attacks. They have been repeatedly bombing the high-rise buildings that are still standing in Gaza City over the last several days. Now, the Israelis have destroyed at least about 50 high-rise buildings in Gaza City. And what is interesting is this: Israel is accusing Hamas of putting surveillance infrastructure in any building that is still left standing in Gaza. In a separate development, the IDF raided the house of one of the 2 Palestinian gunmen who killed 6 people in Jerusalem on Monday. The United Nations has condemned the shooting as a terror attack. Meanwhile, the organizers of the Gaza-bound aid flotilla claimed that one of their boats was hit by a suspected drone. Now, the boat is currently in the Tunisian port of Sidi Bou, and the footage of this drone strike has surfaced. However, Tunisia's National Guard has said that it did not detect any drones, and an investigation is underway as to what actually attacked this ship of the flotilla. The French President Emmanuel Macron is facing calls for his impeachment after Prime Minister François Bayrou lost the vote of confidence in the National Assembly. So as left-wing lawmakers claimed victory after Bayrou's government fell to a vote of confidence, the parliamentary leader of France's Unbound Party, Mathilde Panot, said that the parliamentary group will file a motion to impeach French President Emmanuel Macron.
The France Unbowed parliamentary group will file a motion tomorrow to impeach the President of the Republic because the problem for the country and the deadlock for the country is him. And starting from September 10th, we will be everywhere alongside French men and women who will block the country's economy to say enough is enough.
The Monday's vote, which saw 364 deputies voting against Bayrou's government and only 194 in favour, marked the end of his 9-month tenure as Prime Minister. The Francois Bayrou is all set to submit his resignation to the President today. Now, before the vote, Francois Bayrou had warned the lawmakers that the need for tough decisions to address the country's soaring debt, which has climbed to 113% of the GDP. Bayrou's government had proposed a budget plan that would require 44 billion euros in savings, but it was met with resistance from both the left and the right wings.
Dear lawmakers, you have the power to make the government fall, but you cannot erase the reality. The reality will remain inescapable. The spending will continue to rise even more, and the burden of debt that's already unbearable will become more and more heavy and more costly.
The French socialists called on Macron to negotiate with the left after the